Good day, everyone. So, for today, we will be discussing Module 2, wherein these are the acids and bases. So, this topic is very important, especially in our field, pharmacy, because acids and bases can affect the drug stability, absorption, and effectiveness of the drug. So next, let's have the objectives of this discussion or topic. So at the end of our discussion, we must be able to achieve these two. So the first one is to differentiate what is acids from bases using different theories. And the last goal is to discuss the pharmaceutical importance of acids and bases, especially on how they affect the drug behavior in our body. Next, let's have the discussion on the acids and bases. So, as we all know, acids have a pH range from 0 to 7, while bases have a pH range from 7 to 14. And we all know as well that the lower the pH, the stronger the acid, and the higher the pH, the stronger the base. Next, let's proceed with the general properties of acids. So, acids usually have a sour taste like the vinegar or calamansi. And with the litmus paper, it turns red, and this acid can conduct electricity. In terms of the indicators being used in the laboratories, acids are colorless in phenolphthalein and pink or red color in methyl orange. Next, let's go or proceed with the general properties of bases. So, bases have a bitter taste and they are usually feel slippery like a soap. And for the litmus paper, it turns blue in color. And with the indicators that we have in laboratory, like phenolphthalein, bases appear in color of pink or violet, while in methyl orange indicator, it appears yellow in the result. Next, let us compare what is acids and bases. So, acidity refers to the ability of the compound to donate a proton, while for the basicity, it's the ability to accept a proton. Remember the important rule that the stronger the acid, the weaker its conjugate base. Next, let's have the organic acids and organic bases. So, organic acid usually contain a positively polarized hydrogen, wherein we have an example such as acetic acid that can be found in vinegar. While for the organic bases, it usually contain atoms with lone pair of electrons, like the amines, which are commonly found in drug molecules. Okay, next. So on this slide, as you can see, we have some organic compounds that can act as acids or bases depending on the situation. So first, let's look at the organic acids that is shown in this slide. So we have methanol, acetic acid, and acetone. So if you will notice, all of them contain oxygen atoms. And these oxygen atoms are important because they influence the acidity. And if we will look at the pKa values of each, acetic acid has a much lower pKa compared to methanol and acetone. So this means that the acetic acid is a stronger acid, which explains why it can easily donate a proton. While for the methanol and acetone, on the other hand, they have a higher pKa values, so they are weaker acids. Okay. Now let's move to the next idea. Nitrogen-containing compounds are the most common organic bases. This is because nitrogen has a lone pair of electrons that they can easily accept a proton. A good example that is shown in this slide is the methylamine, which clearly acts as a base due to the nitrogen atom present. Okay? So, however, take note of this important concept that oxygen-containing compound can also act as bases, especially in reacting with a sufficiently strong acid. So for example, methanol and acetone can act as bases when their oxygen atoms accept a proton. So, depending on the reaction condition ni methanol and acetone, if they are amphoteric, they can act as acid when they donate a proton and bases when they accept a proton. So in summary of these slides, it shows that acidity and basicity in organic compounds will depend on the functional group present. Okay? So the pKa values and the reaction condition, which is very important in understanding the drug behavior in pharmaceutical chemistry. Next, let's have the discussion on ionization and dissociation. Okay, so let's compare the two later. Okay, so for ionization, it is defined as the process where ions are formed due to the gain or loss of electron. Okay, so for example, when the table salt dissolves in water, it forms a charged ion that can conduct electricity. So how that happens? Because you have already formed the ions. While for the dissociation, it is the separation of a compound into a smaller particles. So if ionization is forming the ions, for the dissociation, it's breaking the ions. Okay? So for example, same sample with the ionization, let's have the table salt. If the table salt undergo the process of dissociation. So once it dissociates into sodium and chloride separately, therefore the result will be the sodium chloride or the table salt will be dissolved in water. Clear. The ionization is forming, dissociation is the breaking or separation. Okay? Next, let's have the importance of ionization. So, to summarize everything that is written in there, so when we say ionized drugs or forms, they are hydrophilic. Other characteristic of this one is that they are poorly lipid soluble and they are not absorbed because they cannot cross the lipid membranes. While for the unionized drugs, they are lipid soluble and they are easily absorbed across all the cell membrane. So the weak acids are better absorbed in acidic environments such as the stomach, and the weak bases are better absorbed in alkaline environments such as the small intestine. Next, still under the importance of ionization, so when we say absorption of weak electrolytes, it mainly depends on how much of the drug is in its unionized form at the site of the absorption. And the degree of the ionization also influences three. Okay, so the first one, it influences the antimicrobial effectiveness of the preservatives, and also it affects the chromatographic separation, and lastly it affects the physicochemical stability of the drug products. Okay, so the key idea in here is that an ionized form is better or has a better absorption, and the ionization affects the drug performance and stability. Okay, let's proceed with the definition of the pH scale and pH. So when we say pH scale, it measures how acidic or basic the solution is. Okay, well, for the pH, it is the negative logarithm of the hydrogen ion concentration. And the formula for the pH is pH equals negative log of the hydrogen ions. And as you can see on the right side of this slide is a reference of the different example with their equivalent pH values. Okay, you can check on that. Okay, so for the example, pure water. This pure water has a pH of 7, therefore it is neutral. While for an example of acidic is a soft drinks. So the soft drinks usually have a pH of 3, making them acidic. Okay? For the basic, we have bleach. The pH value for the bleach is 13, therefore it is basic. Okay? So kindly check the examples on the graph or in the photo that is flashed in the screen on the right side. Okay? Next, let's discuss what is Bronsted-Lowry concept. So this one is an acid of any substance that is capable of donating a proton in a chemical reaction. So when we say proton in this concept, we're referring to the hydrogen ion. Okay? Kindly take note of that. So as you can see from the sample that we have in here, we have this reaction H bonded with A plus B as its base. And your byproduct is A negative or the conjugate base plus the conjugate acid wherein the B is bonded with H. Okay? So if you will look for the sample, the Bronsted-Lowry acid, the H bonded with A on the left side, you're referring to the proton wherein that is the letter H in there. So meaning the Bronsted-Lowry acid that is on the left side is a donor. It is capable of giving a hydrogen atom to the Bronsted-Lowry base, wherein that is the B on the left side, okay? And the Bronsted-Lowry base is the recipient, of course, of the hydrogen ion given by the Bronsted-Lowry acid. And once it undergoes a reaction, therefore, the Bronsted-Lowry acid, will turn into a conjugate base because it donates its hydrogen ion to the Bronsted-Lowry base. That's why it becomes a conjugate acid. That's the one on the right side, the conjugate acid. Okay? Another picture to discuss what is Bronsted-Lowry acid-base reaction. So as you can see on the first photo that we have in the slide, we have this formula of HA plus B, wherein the HA is your Bronsted-Lowry acid and your B is your Bronsted-Lowry base. And once it undergoes a reaction, the one on the right is your byproduct. Therefore, after it undergoes a reaction, you will have the conjugate base and the conjugate acid as its byproduct. Okay? So, how it happens? So, take note of that formula. And the photo on the right bottom part of the first image is a good example for the Bronsted-Lowry acid-base reaction. So, as you can see in there, we have the two water compound in there for the Bronsted reaction that it will undergo, and then you'll have a byproduct of H3O and OH. Therefore, the conjugate acid is the first hydrogen, and the conjugate base will be the second hydrogen, who donates hydrogen among the two. It's the It's the second one. Okay? It's the second water compound from the left side. Okay? Next, let's proceed with the continuation of Bronsted-Lowry concept. So, again, let's repeat the main idea of this concept wherein the acid donates a proton. So, when we say proton, we're referring to the hydrogen ions. And when we say base, they accept a proton, or we're referring to the hydrogen atom. So, after the transfer of this acid and base during the reaction, therefore, you will have this byproduct that we called conjugate acid and conjugate base. Okay? So on the first reaction that we have in this slide, as you can see, the one on the left side is your Bronsted-Lowry acid and base. Okay, so for the Bronsted-Lowry acid, we have the acetic acid or the CH3COOH in chemical name. And for the Bronsted-Lowry base, we have the water or the H2O. And once these two will undergo a reaction, therefore you will have a byproduct or final product of acetate ion for the conjugate base, or in chemical formula it is CH3COO negative. And for the conjugate acid, you'll have a byproduct of hydronium or the H3O positive. So what happened in here is that the hydrogen of the Bronsted-Lowry acid was given to the Bronsted-Lowry base. That's why after the process of reaction or during the process of reaction, the acetic acid turns to acetate because it donates its hydrogen ions to the base or to the Bronsted-Lowry base. And the water turns to be the hydronium or the H3O because it accepts the hydrogen coming from the acetic acid. Clear? So next, let's go to the second reaction or the bottom illustration that we have in this slide, okay? So as you can see on the left side, um, we have the water for the Bronsted-Lowry acid, and for the base, we have the ammonia or the NH3. For the chemical name of water, it's H2O. So once this water and ammonia undergo the process of reaction, therefore you will have a byproduct of hydroxide or OH in chemical formula and ammonium or the NH4 in chemical formula. So which among hydroxide and ammonium is your conjugate base? So the conjugate base therefore is your hydroxide or the OH, and your conjugate acid is your ammonium or the NH4 in chemical formula. Okay? So how that happens? So the hydrogen ions of the water was donated to ammonia. That's why the ammonia turns to be acidic after the reaction wherein this is your ammonium or the NH4 already. Okay? So next concept, we have the Lewis acid base concept. So the difference of the Lewis acid base from the Bronsted-Lowry concept is that for the Bronsted, you're focusing on the protons or the hydrogen ions. While for the Lewis acid base concept, you're focusing on the electrons. No need for you to focus and to check for the hydrogen ions for this concept, okay? So for this one, kindly take note that for the Lewis acid, they are insufficient of electrons. That's why they need to accept electrons, okay? And for the Lewis base, you have to take note that they have an extra electrons. That's why they are capable of giving an electron. Okay, so as you can see from this image on this slide, for the Lewis acid, we have the magnesium, okay, as the Lewis acid. So therefore, is it sufficient or insufficient of electrons since it is a Lewis acid? Therefore, it is insufficient of electrons and it needs to be or to have an extra electrons for it to become stable. And for your Lewis base, you have this organodiphosphate ion wherein when we say Lewis base, they have an extra electrons and they are ready to share or to give some electrons. Okay? Once this Lewis acid and Lewis base was added and undergo a process of reaction. Therefore, you'll have this byproduct of what? You'll have the acid-base complex as your final byproduct because the Lewis base or the organodiphosphate ion donated an electron to the Lewis acid for it to become stable. Okay? Next, let's proceed with the last concept of the acid base. Okay, so this is the Arrhenius concept. So when we say Arrhenius concept, we have this two, wherein we have the Arrhenius acid and the Arrhenius base. So when we say Arrhenius acid, it is the substance that produces hydrogen ions in water. While for the Arrhenius base, it is a substance that produces hydroxide ions in water. So this concept only works in aqueous solutions such as water only, okay? And in terms of the general formula, you have this photo on the right bottom part of this slide. Kindly take note of that. So what are the few examples that we have for the Arrhenius acid and Arrhenius base? So for the Arrhenius acid, we have the hydrochloric acid or the HCl, and the sulfuric acid or the H2SO4. Okay, well, for the Arrhenius base, we have this potassium hydroxide or the KOH and the sodium hydroxide or the NaOH in chemical formula. Okay, so that ends our discussion for Module 2, Acids and Bases. For any questions or concerns, you may message me through Google Chat or you may email me using my AUF email. Thank you. Bye-bye.